Can I go to the sleepover?
I want you to promise me something. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Our project started at the beginning of the year this year, so January. We had to do a lot of research on this website called Padlet, and we looked up about 10 sources for 5 weeks. We looked up 10 sources, and we used that information to start creating our podcast. And she told us that we could pick a health awareness topic that we felt like needed to be spoken about locally. So a lot of us did mental health. There was one about free menstrual products. There was one about ADHD. There was a lot of different projects that people chose, so it was a really big variety for all of us to see.
Throughout the class, they begin with researching something they're interested in, and since we're the Health Science Village, we have them look at something that's public health related.
I felt very good about mine because I interviewed Chrissy Ellison from the Findlay 5K. They lost their kid to SIDS about, I think it was 2013, and it was hard to interview her, but I think just because it was hard to ask her questions, but since she was such a big advocate for SIDS, it was easier for me. So I think a lot of the stuff that she told me and how I researched stuff, it really came together because I was able to talk about it from what I knew and also the emotional aspect of her story.
My podcast was about the current blood shortage. I chose this because my mom had a blood transfusion a couple of years ago. There wasn't currently a blood shortage going on, but I just think it's an important topic for people who have to have blood transfusions currently. I did learn new information. I ended up interviewing someone who had a blood transfusion more recently. Her baby has had over 35 blood transfusions in his life, and he's only one. So I learned a lot from them.
So my project was a podcast on ADHD, so attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and I actually chose that because my brother has ADHD, and I'm interested, that has inspired me to work with children with ADHD and other mental disorders and help them lead a normal lifestyle.
I chose generalized anxiety disorder because I have a lot of people that are really close to me, including myself, that have anxiety, whether it be different levels of it or just the general kind. So I wanted to bring awareness to it and misconceptions of it, what an actual anxiety attack is, the difference between an anxiety attack and a panic attack, stuff like that.
Okay, well, my podcast was about type 2 diabetes, and I did have to translate my podcast when I did my interview because my grandpa can't speak English. So I kind of just I did the interview in Spanish, and then I translated everything in English.
The podcast takes the place of a traditional research paper, which is not as engaging of a medium for students and for teachers to grade. But with the podcast, they have an opportunity to be more creative and expressive. It's something that's new to them, but it's also something they're used to since they consume so much digital media already.
Listening back, it made me a little bit emotional because it was something that kind of was close to home. So I won't lie when I say I did shed a tear or two, but it was really good. It felt good too, empowering almost, that I did it all.